Dear Redditors who ended a relationship with their best friend, what was your breaking point? She did lots of really shitty things and gaslighted the hell out of everything to make me apologize for them. The breaking point was when she said, I know you think you really love fiance's name, but really, they should be preemptively raped to get rid of some of that pride. Take them down a notch. I was horrified. I ended the game night as quickly and safely as I could and ended the friendship immediately after. She tried to explain why she was right. Then she tried to figure out how this was my fault and I was unreasonable for saying that she was wrong. At most she was willing to admit to being tactless. 6 months later she reached out again, but it was to apologize for my misunderstanding her words and offering to forgive me. Apparently she should have anticipated I wasn't ready to hear hard truths about the love of my life. Yeah. Nope. I don't need that. At all. Still not friends with her. He married a woman whose upbringing had resulted in her being repulsed by physical contact and sex in general. To try to fill the void in his life, he made a pass at my wife. I have not talked to him since she told me what he did. Wouldn't he have discovered how she was while they were dating? I'd bet he did, and thought he could handle it. But after committing to spending the rest of his life with her and actually living that life, he realized it was harder than he thought and not what he actually wanted for himself. Just a guess though. I could be totally wrong. He promised me he would pay my rent with our business profits while I went out of town, but instead bought a truck with our money and told my landlord that I had the money but refused to pay. My family ended up homeless. Bro. Is he in jail? That is awful, I'm so sorry. No, I didn't have any money. To fight back I had to put everything I had into keeping my kids out of sleeping in a car. Things are better now. I always tried to keep away from corporate work, but it pays the bills. When my wife ran off with him. The best revenge is to let him have her. It's the old joke, my wife ran off with my best friend. I miss him terribly. Apostrophe. Whether we spoke or hung out was fully dependent on me initiating it. So when I decided to step back, we stopped talking. It. For some context, by the time we stopped talking, it was the end of high school and we had both become completely different from each other. So this wasn't sudden. I think I tried to hang on to the friendship simply because it was the longest one I had, which unfortunately wasn't reciprocated. Ditching me for a better something for the 100th time while I waited outside a concert with his ticket. That's so awful. I ended my friendship with a friend because she decided to go to a music festival without me despite me literally asking her if she wanted to go and her saying she didn't want to because of this. People suck. I had my ex-friend do something similar. I was home from university for the last time because my mom was moving. I was there only for a week. I asked her if she wanted to go to the bar with me on like Monday. Edit. I had asked her on Mon for the weekend. Not to go on Mon because I'd never actually been to our local bar. She gave me a bunch of excuses. I tried to convince her again on Thursday. She told me she was busy. Okay, fine. So the next night I found other girls to go with. She was there with people that weren't really friendly to me. And honestly I wouldn't have cared. I knew she was friends with them. The lying bothered me a lot though. Who else is here wondering why their best friend left? Because they were ghosted and never got any closure. Me. One day I realized he wasn't responding to my texts anymore. We live a few cities away from each other so sometimes we wouldn't see each other for months. But it got longer. After I realized he was gone I replayed all of our last moments and conversed together trying to figure out what happened. I searched up all I could find of him. And while I don't know the truth, my guess of what happened was that he had a series of major crises happen to him. Parents divorced. First unemployment after getting jobs effortless all of his life. GF of 7 years broke up with him, and maybe I didn't realize the impact it had on him. Retreading his steps. He was probably lonelier than he let on. Every time we hung out he was always upbeat and cheery. Now has just gone from my life. He stopped using social media. Even Reddit. I don't know where he lives, though some of our mutual friends tell me he's alright. When I was studying abroad, A friend of mine often came to visit while accompanying his father for chemo. That was in 2005 I think. We were so close. Then one day, he just stopped replying my texts. The last contact was when he left a birthday message on Facebook in 2014. I'm still wondering what happened to us. We live in different cities, so we usually just leave messages on FB/etc. But we were close. I added his IG account, but it wasn't approved yet. He's always on my mind every now and then. She helped my ex break into my email to prove I was cheating on him. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. How that is so sad. I misread your comment as how is that so bad? We dated a few times and it just never worked out. It was hard to go back to being friends after that. Realized I was the one keeping the friendship alive and she didn't really care. She's been passive aggressive and had lied and gaslighted in the past, but she had become ruder and more dismissive lately and I was too angry with her to let it go. Looking back, it was a long time coming. Well, when he started constantly bullying me, I took the hint. Yeah, that'll do it. I ended a friendship over something similar. I had a friend like this in the first 2 years of college. It's much better when there isn't someone trying to make you feel low all the time. He had a friend that stole from me, defended the friend instead of backing me. At that point you might as well have carried the other side when he stole it. What did he steal? If you don't mind my asking, dude stole my phone and wallet out of my locker while I was at work. It was obviously him as his keycard was the only one an hour out between my times in. She was just accepting failure every time. She was dealt a horrible hand in life and inherited her dead mom's dilapidated hoarding house and moved in. I offered to help her to clean it countless times, but the last time I went in it looked like it needed condemning. She also dated a strung out deadbeat guy and they are so toxic together. Definitely lots of Xanax and probably heroin involved. The final straw was they bought a husky with no previous dog knowledge. Her nor her boyfriend could afford flea meds and the dog was likely anemic from the fleas. I spent my own money to help with her poor dog to clean it up. The next day her boyfriend was asking on FB where he could buy an Xbox or PC for the Lolo. I couldn't stand the thought of not coughing up the $100 to get flea meds and a flea bath for your clearly neglected dog, but they can afford Xanax and boxes. I blocked her on everything. We were friends for 10 years, but I couldn't watch her become such a piece of shit anymore. Did you steal the dog? Please tell me you stole her dog. Please steal the dog. They became a meth addict and blamed everyone else for their problems. I tried everything I could to help them for over a year. I ruined a lot of my own life trying to be there for them. It was a hard lesson to learn that sometimes the people that you really love and care about are beyond help. It hurts to remember the person that she used to be and admit to myself that the person I knew is gone. Same here. My best friend since elementary school fell hard into drugs and alcohol. She would embarrass me being wasted and trying to get high off stupid shit around my other friends. The final straw for me was she did drugs and drank while she was pregnant, had a baby who was developmentally delayed, and didn't take care of him properly, leaving her elderly grandpa to pick up the slack. After I cut ties with her, she ended up having another kid. She got both of them taken away. She ended up in jail a few times. Not my problem. She did drugs and drank while she was pregnant, had a baby who was developmentally delayed. My god. I feel so terrible for children who never got a full, proper shot at life because of their parents' decisions before they were even born. My wife did everything by the book when she was pregnant. Even when the doctor said a certain small amount of caffeine per day was okay, she said nope. Not even gonna flirt with it. Anything on which opinion was split, she 100% avoided to eliminate all risk. Our daughter still had serious internal birth defects. Fortunately, they were fixable with surgery and she's doing great. But my wife sometimes blames herself despite my assurances that she couldn't have been more responsible. I got sober and turned my life around. She wanted to stay in the same spot on her couch, pretend her issues didn't exist, and make someone else responsible for her sobriety. She was firmly entrenched in the belief she was a victim and couldn't comprehend being in charge of her own life. It got to the point I was having anxiety before I went to hang out with her, and I couldn't take it anymore. That is terrible. I hope she is sober now though. I hope so too. Couldn't say for sure. She had a tendency of being selfish while making me feel guilty that I was the selfish one. After spending my wedding day focused on her drama, I kept her at arm's length. When the birth of my first child was also overshadowed by her drama, I cut her loose. Gaslighting is terrible. I still worry I'm being too self-centered. That is terrible. Your special day made into someone else's drama day. When I realized her childhood/family was too dysfunctional and she was taking her anger/frustration out on me since mine was not. She was always belittling me and talking over me, and I just realized it wasn't worth it. She was funny and we liked the same things, but if I spent more than 2 hours with her, I came home feeling worn down. I've been there. It's that moment of realizing I wasn't all that introverted. I just had terrible friends. Damn. He ran off with my GF after swearing for weeks that he would never do such a thing. The best part was that I was best man at his wedding and he was married at the time. Honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad it happened. I got to kick 2 pieces of shit out of my life on the same day. I met my wife 2 years later and I've never been happier. Edit. Holy moly, did this blow up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and such. I'm glad to have struck a chord with so many people. And thanks for all the replies and well wishes. I hope everyone gets an experience like I got and can make lemonade out of lemons. I'm glad you had a happy ending. Thanks. I'm pretty stoked about it too. It feels terrible looking back because it's obviously now that he had some kind of undiagnosed mental issue or chemical imbalance. But at the time it was just a series of unhinged and destructive acts from him that caused our whole friend group to pull back from him. I was closest to him, and I was the last holdout, but I eventually just stopped answering his calls as well. The first major incident was at a party where I asked him to limit himself because he had shown himself in the past to have issues with control, and we didn't know anyone there. He destroyed an entire shelf of pint glasses and puked in their shower less than 30 minutes after arriving. Second incident, he came over with me to hang out with some people I had really only known for a few days. He got really just too high and locked himself in their bathroom and took a shower before passing out on the floor. After falling asleep on a girl's couch we barely knew after a late night D&D game. The girl woke up to find him in her room just watching her sleep. He mumbled, "Sorry, I thought you were awake," before leaving hastily, driving some friends up to a nearby ice mountain town. He started raving about death and the great mystery while driving wildly too fast around steep corners. My friends told me he was all over the road and they were close to dying multiple times. It just kept going on and on. Oh my gosh. Was using my house as a staging/excuse point so he could duck around on his wife, who was also a friend of mine. I was best man in their wedding. Ghost edit. I've mentioned this before, and it strangely needed clarifying that none of this came to light until after the fact. Don't know why people are saying you're an asshole for this. Someone using me as an excuse to cheat on someone without talking to me would be a betrayal of trust. Also, would have a hard time respecting someone who had to sneak around and lie. Communicate your needs, your problems, and what you want. If that's not respected, one has to make a call. Lying about it is the worst possible approach. Hell. My friends and I weren't used as an excuse, and we still backed away from a friend who was happy to tell us about the 2 guys who were friends that she switched between, played them against each other, and ended their friendship. We still like her sibling, so we still see her on occasion, but definitely not as much as we used to. Stole $400 from me when he found out the girl he liked actually liked me. We were in our mid-20s. High school never ends. Did you ever pursue that relationship? A few months later, after letting it cool down for a while. Didn't want him thinking I pursued it behind his back or anything. Not that I should cared. We never had classes together and grew apart. We didn't talk much anymore, and we weren't into the same things. I can relate to that. Dang. We both moved away to college and didn't keep in check. Haven't seen her in 3 years. Not sure she'd recognize me. I was great friends with this girl in high school. We graduated in 2009. Went our separate ways for college and lost touch. Long story short, a random Facebook message in 2018 led to her standing as a bridesmaid at my wedding in February 2020. You dodged the corona build. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.